This is the Joseph Evaldi Podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Evaldi, and I've been ceremoniously evicted from the kitchen where I do the podcast for the Joseph Evaldi Podcast. I am in my second location now. Yes, I have two locations, the kitchen and the basement. The basement is where I go, where I want to try to get away and get soundproof. It was starting to get noisy there when I was doing the podcast, so I'm reverting to the basement. And the basement, if you notice sound in the background, that is the laundry going off, so just bear with me. Hopefully you could hear me and I could move on from there. Number 3. I guess when I think of number 3, I want to say the ratings and the trial of Totem Wolf. Those episodes always had meaning to me. You know, it was the turning point of the podcast, and it was the height. It was the changing of the guard, I would say, because that wrapped up the business that I had with Ricky as far as podcasting in that era. And you know how eras are, they're always a run. And once that run is over, you gotta move on to the next one, wherever it may be. That was a run. Whether it'll be another run, I don't know. But that was a run for that period. So, there you go. The ratings, you know, we reviewed the network. We did R&D of some of the podcasts and everything else. And all I want to say is, if you listened and liked it, if you didn't, it's okay, but we're just happy to be building this community, and we're happy to be a part of this community too. And we are just happy to produce what we need to produce. So that's why I want to say thank you. Even if you listen from overseas to listening in the state of New Jersey to California, you know, we greatly appreciated it. So that's why I want to say thank you. So I want to say the trial of Totem Wolf. I don't even know if that was aired. I don't even know where that file is. I don't even know if it was the podcast was done, but I know we recorded that from the Joseph Evaldi Podcast. So who knows where that is? I mean, I don't even know if that was even aired. But I mean, that was a good podcast, and that was one of my favorites. So, second would be the podcast that I did, What is Happiness? I was coming off of a relationship at a time, and you know, I don't hold any ill will towards that person now. Everyone comes in and makes an impact. And once the relationship is over, you move on and you find other pastors as the relationship scene goes, and that's why I'm happy with the one that I'm with right now, and I'm happy that things are going very well, and that's how it is. And you find someone who could podcast with you, who could blog with you, who could love with you, who could do different things, build business, and much more. And it's compatibility of life and love. So I'm just grateful. But what is happiness? Main reason why I like that one and is memorable for me. During that podcast, I remember I said some words during that podcast that I had passion with it. And when you had passion when I had passion with the podcast, it carried on. I don't know if many people listen to it that much, but I will add it in this network, so to speak. So it's on YouTube. Is What is Happiness? So check that out. And last but not least, my favorite Joseph Evaldi podcast of all time, and I think I might have to air this podcast late at night. That's the KOA Campgrounds episode on the male perspective of relationships. And I know I mentioned a little bit of that through the podcast. I interviewed one of my friends who was there that day, but there was something in the air that day. There was some kind of a magic. There was some kind of a feel. It was like we were outside at the campgrounds. It was the first night. We were there. I played devil's advocate on relationships, thinking of the Cloud 9 version of love. My friends would give me a reality check. It was a very good episode. And hence, I take note of what they meant. I wish I took their advice when I did, but that's life. And you learn, you grow, and I wound up with someone, or I am with someone who helped grow me as an individual. So that's wrapping up the 5 most memorable episodes of the Joseph Evaldi Podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Evaldi.